Mandela's birth and youth. Nelson Mandela was born on July 18, 1918 in a small village in South Africa called Mvizo. He was the son of the tribe's chief. His first name is Rolihlahla, but his primary school teacher renamed him Nelson to symbolize his tribal and English double education. Since he was a good pupil, he was formed to become a Black English, but he soon understood that he was mostly an African and stayed faithful to his roots while learning the English culture. Mandela's studies. Mandela was a brilliant student, so he carried on his studies at the University for Black People in Fort Hare so as to become a lawyer. In 1941, Mandela went to Johannesburg and discovered the townships, where young black people dreamt of South Africa where everyone will be equal. Mandela was one of those who wanted to progress by the political project thanks to the meetings at Walter Sisulu's. Mandela's taking of awareness. The group, which was formed at Walter Sisulu's with Mandela, Oliver Tambo, Anton Lembede, Ashbimda, was at the origin of the creation of the Youth League within the African National Congress (ANC) political party in 1944. Mandela made a name of himself in political activism to put an end to white domination. He quickly realized the extent of the disparities by opening the first black law office in South Africa with Tambo. The fight against apartheid. He was arrested for the first time in 1955 for having participated to the writing of the Freedom Charter. But he was found not guilty, and so do all his mates. Until then, Mandela was advocating the pacific fight, but the violent police-related suppression in 1960 in Sharpeville, which did 69 dead, was a turning point. He made a name of himself in the armed fight following the fail of the non-violent protests. He entered in clandestinity to leave the country and raised funds to organize his fights. Thus, he went around all the African capitals, and even London. His journey was recalled in the press, and he got very famous. The conviction of life in prison, the prison of Robben Island. He finally got arrested in August 1962. In 1963, he was convicted of life in prison and he was sent to the prison of Robben Island near Cape Town. He met his group of militants who were also convicted to hit the rock, but they obtained the right to keep studying in order to spread the knowledge. By studying the Africans, Mandela learned to know the African culture and people, which allowed him to show closer and comforting of this community at the end of the apartheid. SOWETO riots, rebellion of the townships. In 1976, a demonstration of young black people who are opposed to the Africans' teaching degenerated following the police-related suppression and caused the Soweto riots. These riots led to a big wave of rebellion against the police-related violence in the townships in 1985 and 1986. The movements against the apartheid used Mandela's image as a symbol of their fight. This raising, similar to the Black Consciousness movement, was the beginning of what led to the release of Mandela. Mandela's release. In 1985, Mandela refused to negotiate his freedom against a renouncement to violence with President Botha. They had to wait for Frederick de Klerk to be in power to calm down the minds and to organize his release. Mandela was released on February 11, 1919. He replaced Tambo at the end of the ANC and organized negotiations for a soft transition towards the end of the apartheid with the white managers. In 1993, the Nobel Peace Prize was logically awarded to Mandela and de Klerk for the efforts of peace. Elected President. On May 9, 1994, the first free and multiracial elections of the country took place and Nelson Mandela was elected president. His wish was to be the president of the National Reconciliation, to build a rainbow nation. His objective was to fix the scars of the past. Mandela set an example by wearing in 1995 the jersey of the white team for the World Cup of Rugby, which was the symbol of the apartheid. He gave the World Cup to the captain of the team. Mandela leaves his functions but stays active. In 1999, Mandela leaves his functions as a president. Nevertheless, he stays an actor of the international scene by intervening as a mediator in the Burundi conflict or by leading big actions to fight against the AIDS disease. Since 2012, he has been suffering from painful lung disease related to his detention. He remains the symbol of a firm and determined resistance without hate in front of racial oppression. Let freedom reign. The sun never set on so glorious a human achievement.